is Podcast for Class. I'm your host, Kate Stepanuk, and hopefully my audio class is the audience. Tips for radio script writing. This is the topic I will discuss in today's episode. There are lots of things to talk about, so let's jump straight into script writing tips. When I first came to the United States, I didn't have a car. And I like to say that in the US, if you don't have a car, you can't have a life. A good friend from North Carolina drove all the way to Mississippi to bring me my very first vehicle. I met my red Honda Civic on a Sunday morning, and it didn't bother me a bit that it had almost 400,000 miles on the odometer. It was love at first sight. We wandered on lost country roads every time my GPS froze. But one day, while going to class, right before taking exit 65 on I-55 North, I hear a boom. I pull over, get out of the car, open the hood, and I see a huge hole in the engine. That's when I remembered. I forgot to change the oil. That day, I became carless and Honda-less. Okay, let me ask you something now. Were you able to visualize the story you just heard about? If I'd ask you details, like what color was the car, what brand, how many miles it had on it, or what happened to it, would you be able to tell me? If your answer is yes, then I succeeded. I painted a picture in your head just by using my words. So here comes the first principle you should consider when you start writing your radio script. Write for the ear. This is probably the most important concept when it comes to radio script writing. Write things as you'd say them. Use simple colloquial language. Don't overcomplicate when using big words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Please use simple sentences. If you're wondering what those are, then here it is. Subject plus verb equals to simple sentences. Remember this formula and stick to it. This way, you say what you mean and you control the length of your sentences. Write in active voice. Get rid of there is and there are expressions. They state the obvious, but you want to make your objects act. And to do that, active verbs is key. When you write your script, make sure your words transcend the wire and create a mood you'd want the audience to experience. Tell the audience what the smell was like in that bakery. Make them cry with you when you're witnessing a sad moment. The more connection the audience gets with the things you say, the more impact your story will have. Have someone in mind when you write your script. Hey Daria, I'm actually waving my hand. You're my invisible friend today. I hope you're having a good day. You see, Daria might never get to listen to my script, but having her in my mind when writing it and reading it helps me talk to the person and not hold a speech for her. In a perfect world, every story has at least a source. When you attribute something to your source, place attribution before the quote itself. For instance, don't say, "The United States and Moldova will soon meet for negotiations," says US state official. Switch things around. Say who says it first and what they have to say after. Let's use the same example, but this time in radio mode. US state official is saying the US and Moldova will meet for negotiations. Does this really matter, you ask? Yes, it seems that it does. The radio audience likes to judge source credibility as the facts are heard. Now, let's move on to script formatting. How do you arrange a script and have it make sense to you and to other people that might potentially read it, like a radio anchor? Generally, the reporter's text is in capital letters. Lines are usually double-spaced, while paragraphs are triple-spaced. The script is typed on one side of the paper to reduce handling noise. The sound bites are uppercase and lowercase letters. Overall, format your script in a way that makes sense to you. I have my own way of doing that. It looks simple and it's easy for me to follow every single time I have to read it out loud. This week, I suggest you practice your script writing techniques. Pick up a local paper, find the story you like, and write it following audio guidelines. Remember, tell the story like you talk about it with a friend. This was Kate Stepanuk with Podcast for Class. I look forward to having you as my audience again next week when we'll talk about audition tricks you can use to improve a recording.